Hi everyone, this is Molly. Welcome to a look at the Scorpio Full Moon. It is happening on May 7th, 2020 at 3:45 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, so be sure and adjust for your location on the planet. As with every full moon, we start by looking at the exact placement of the moon at this time in your natal chart. So what you want to do is find where 17 degrees of Scorpio is in your chart. And this is where the energies are coming up for greater awareness, illumination, revelation, and ultimately higher consciousness. Now, the moon is opposing the sun at 17 degrees of Taurus and Mercury at 20 degrees of Taurus. So we have an interesting opposition here because the Taurus energy is very practical, realistic. It's the five senses, what you see, touch, taste, smell, and it's very much about what is. Every earth sign is about the factual elements of life, the physical, tangible areas of life that we experience. And so with the Mercury conjunction to the sun, there's more of a sense of what you see is what you believe, what you see is your reality. Mercury is what you say, communicate, learn, take in. The sun being conjunct Mercury adds a lot of energy and warmth to this Mercury. It's important to note that they were exactly conjunct at 13 degrees of Taurus on May 4th. So they have been traveling together for the whole week prior to this full moon. And that means there's been a lot of information coming up and coming forward. It could even feel like there's been more movement with this Mercury, more matters to figure out, think about, solve. It's a very active mind space. And with the sun, it means that it's really a focal point of our energy. So the Taurus energy being an earth sign and being what we see is similar to looking at a flower that's blooming and to look at all the ways that flower is sprouting, the colors, the leaves, everything that you see, right? But then we look at the Scorpio energy. And the Scorpio energy is what's under the earth. What is underneath that flower plant blooming, the roots, and everything else that's happening behind the scenes or out of sight. But the Scorpio energy is intuitive and emotional. So it brings a focus point to the emotions that drive you, the emotions under the surface, how you really feel. And with this full moon, there could even be a split between what you feel and what you think. So the mind and the heart are in different spaces right now. And this is probably how you show up. This is what people are seeing. This is what maybe you're even really focused on. But now the full moon in Scorpio, the sign of transformation, the sign of rising back up. In fact, the glyph here of Scorpio is about going down into the underworld and rising back up, that phoenix rising, and rising up with new levels of consciousness, awareness, healing, emotional power, emotional strength, essentially looking at a fear or something that you've been really sitting with in your own underworld that you're ready to look at in the light of the full moon. So it's a beautiful time for raising your own consciousness around something that maybe has felt powerless or overwhelming. The full moon is asking you to go deeper into how you really feel about something that is different than what your mind has told you. It's not about the stories of the mind. It's about the intuitive, emotional responses that perhaps you've even been traveling with for lifetimes. Because Scorpio is the energy of what we've accumulated through multiple lifetimes, especially from other people. And Scorpio is where we share our energies with others. We share resources and finances. You share your thoughts, your value systems. You share sexually and physically. Scorpio is the merging of energies. So there's something coming to your awareness about maybe what you've been carrying that is not resonating anymore with a truth. And there is an invitation here to claim more of your power in whichever house 17 degrees of Scorpio is in your natal chart. And so this is meant to be something that you move through. It's always a process with Scorpio, a process of transformation and allowing yourself to be rebirthed. And in fact, the only way to do so with the energy of this full moon is to get out of the mind and to get out of what you see and instead be very willing to tap in to what you feel, because that is what's really going to guide you. Now, the moon in Scorpio is being supported here by Neptune at 20 degrees of Pisces, adding another layer of intuitive information, deeper understanding. There's a bigger picture here around what the soul has been carrying for lifetimes. And this is a letting go. There's a letting go here at this full moon that is a turning point, and it's a release. It's a release of something that maybe you've been feeling in the background of your life, something you knew was coming, something you saw unfolding, something within yourself that you've been sitting with. How do I work with this? I don't have time now. I don't have energy now. There's great support here for the trusting of a very deep process that is going to set you free. It's going to feel like you just kind of know what needs to shift. And keep in mind, there's a lot of feminine energy at this full moon. Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, these are feminine energies. The feminine experience is shifting. The feminine expressions are changing and transforming, where there is a more powerful reliance on the wisdom within. And it's something that I feel is happening for the first time in many lifetimes. Now, because of this Mercury, it's a story. It's a story that you've played out perhaps for many lifetimes, and it's something that's been on repeat that you've been learning from. And now you have an opportunity to be in a place of higher consciousness and rewrite the stories of the mind, what the mind has been telling you about something, and to rewrite it where you have the power, where you thought you gave away power, or you were limited, or you had to perform a certain way, play a certain role. It's the parts of our unconscious and psyche that are quite small. And I'm feeling an expansion from this Neptune energy of where we've been traveling with our shadow energies, our shadow self, and realizing that that's only one version of a story. So this full moon in Scorpio is actually asking you to illuminate the stories in your mind and to bring it into greater balance and harmony for your own well-being, your own power, and your own strength. Now, this Neptune is also sextiling beautifully the Mercury and Sun. So there is spiritual support for these transitions and for letting go of what was stuck in you. So it's a beautiful time for any kind of energy work, healing work, anything that supports moving through a deep soul story that no longer serves you going forward and is no longer a true reflection of your choices or options in this lifetime. Now, right after the full moon, it is going to move on into the third decan of Scorpio. And when the moon in Scorpio gets to 24 and 27 degrees of Scorpio, it's going to make a sextile to both Pluto and Jupiter. And this is going to be really powerful in terms of that transformation of what came up here, and then it's got some kind of concrete development in Capricorn, and it helps with the way forward, the way ahead. So I feel like this full 24-hour period of the Scorpio full moon is truly activating something that you're meant to step into in a more powerful way. And because of this conjunction with Jupiter and Pluto, it is so significant that I know I'm repeating myself here and I'm probably saying a lot of hyperbole, but it's really a big deal, okay? It's a big, big deal. And understand that in what you're doing or choosing right now. Understand that this is emotionally reprogramming you. Emotionally reprogramming you around a story, event, experience, relationship, situation, something that you basically had unclaimed power on the table. And you thought someone else had to do it. Someone else was in charge. Someone else had the power, had the control. Because remember, Scorpio, it can have that perception of what other people think, what other people choose, other people's energies. One of the other energies of Scorpio can be related to abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, mental abuse, because it's where you've unconsciously absorbed other people's energies. So I'm feeling the strong purging here because there could be a realization that you've had for a while around where you kept yourself small or held yourself back or didn't fully claim all of your choices. So part of this is calling in the healthiest areas of Scorpio energy that are going to help you rise in your power, your sense of self, your choices, your resources, your options, and help you sense that I can do this in a whole new way. It is a big deal at a soul level, and yet I'm ready. There's something here that is reminding you that you're ready. Now, I do want to give you a heads up that the moon will then move into Sagittarius and make a supportive sextile to the Saturn. So, and then make a trine to this Chiron. So there's something about this full moon period that really brings in a new level of your soul's force, and it's pushing you forward. It can bring up fears, but there's something bigger at play here, especially that connection to Neptune, to keep moving forward and to see how it's a very key time for accepting yourself, what you've been through, what you've healed, what you've understood. And I just feel like this is cosmic support. Honestly, there's something like if you were to just step into this and just go with it, and again, keep your mind out of it as much as possible, you're going to have even better developments and manifestations and transitions. Because it's a very transitional full moon. And one of the best ways you can prepare is to speak to yourself and or listen to the messages coming in that are showing you how supported you are during this key transformation in the year, and reminding you of the fact that you're not doing this alone, that the merging is with spirit, is with the soul, is with energies that you, again, left unclaimed on the table. Now, as all of this is going on, something that can come up for you is around Venus now squaring Neptune. And I've been talking about this in the podcast as well. And you can see how Venus is at 21 degrees here of Gemini and is making the square to that Neptune in Pisces. Now, this is in effect for most of the month because Venus is going so slow. She stations retrograde May 12th, 13th. And there is a sense here of, can I do this? Is it possible? Am I worth it? Do I have what I need? This Venus is in mutual reception with Mercury because Venus in Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So we have some nice synergy here. And I feel like this square to Neptune is reminding you to get out of your head, get out of what you think it's going to be, open up to being receptive, especially as Venus stations retrograde the following week, and to not be attached to any outcome, to not be attached to anything that's going to keep shifting and changing. And that can be for the best. That can be, they're saying, it's like you could lose $5 and then find $20. Okay, so the Venus energy squaring Neptune is about a surrender, lack of clarity, a perception of loss. But if it's, okay, so if there's a feeling of loss, the universe stepped in. Your angels, your guides, your team stepped in and said, no, not that. No, we can't have you accepting that. No, I'm going to take that right away. And you could think, oh, but it's my favorite toy. Oh, but that's what I have to have. That's the job. That's the person. That's the whatever. But this is spirit saying, no. We want you to have everything that you want, not simply what you think you can have or what you think is possible. So now we're going to go on a little journey here as this Venus continues to square Neptune through most of May and completes the final square the end of July. May, June, July, there could be removals and there could be a sense of, I want my new toy back. I want something back, or a sense of, I don't know what's going on. What your responsibility is to tend to the mind and stabilize yourself. Stabilize yourself into a very deep place of trust that this is God, source, spirit, the universe working on your behalf. And simply rewriting that script does wonders, right? Because it changes that sense of it was taken away from me. No, it was removed for you. Something was removed because there's going to be a more fitting manifestation of it to come. So keep that in mind as we move through this very dynamic Scorpio full moon. Know that it does require deep trust and faith, and that can be hard on the mind. So you can see there's a lot of mental energy here. So do what you need to do to redirect your mind. And that can be through books, anything mentally stimulating, puzzles or a craft, a hobby, a project, something where you can go to get away from anything that might show up that mentally, it's like there's a sense of it shrinks you, mentally shrinks you. But I feel like this is where we're in a place of allowance, acceptance, and detachment as we undergo some very deep emotional reprogramming that we've carried for lifetimes that's helping us rise up to a very powerful new understanding of our mastery and choices in this lifetime and in this current cycle of energies. So I hope this has given you some good things to sit with and think about. Thank you so much for joining me. Please note that I do a May 2020 Soul Growth webinar that goes through the full astrology of May. And if you use coupon code Taurus, you get all 4 webinars for $11. And I hope that it helps you navigate the month and understand what's happening in your natal astrology chart. So we talk about the transits and what's coming up throughout the month. So check that out if you are looking for more support right now. And I will be back soon with my podcast, as well as the Gemini new moon that's coming up in a few weeks. Thanks so much. I appreciate your likes, subscribes, and comments, and I'll see you soon.